suspension of evaluation and accreditation of degree certificates from Benin Republic and Togo. In a statement signed by Assistant Director, Press and Public Relations, Agustina Opiloduru, the decision followed an investigative report on how a reporter backed a Cotonou University degree in 6 weeks. According to the statement, the suspension persists pending the outcome of an investigation involving the Ministries of Foreign Affairs and Education of Nigeria and the two countries, as well as the Department of State Security Services and the National Youth Service. suspension of evaluation and accreditation of degree certificates from Benin Republic and Togo. In a statement signed by Assistant Director, Press and Public Relations, Agostina Opiloduro, the decision followed an investigative report on how a reporter backed a Cotonou University degree in 6 weeks. According to the statement, the suspension persists pending the outcome of an investigation involving the Ministries of Foreign Affairs and Education of Nigeria and the two countries, as well as the Department of State Security Services and the National Youth Service.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yeah,
All
good
right.
afternoon. We can hear you.
Yes. Yes.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good
All
afternoon.
right.
Good afternoon. We can hear
All right.
you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the collaborative media engagement for development, inclusivity, and accountability CMEDIA training. My name is Alakoni Rodin, Program Officer at the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism. I'll be moderating this session, and it is my pleasure to have you today. On behalf of the center, the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, we are delighted to have you on board for this another important training session. For this training, we'll be focusing on designing and delivering collaborative investigation from strategy to impact. And I can tell you that today's session is very powerful and it will be impactful. We are trying to look at to strengthen your understanding of clear investigative scope and identify collaboration ready stories, and also accountability journalism. And also it will also equip you with, coordinated publication strategies and navigating the operationals and editorial challenges to, to ensure impact. And also not limited to also strengthen your storytelling, editorial quality, and also consistency across, collaborative output. We have two excellent facilitators with us this afternoon, who will also be, doing justice to these topics. Why I will introduce them while we go, into the session. But before we proceed, please a quick, housekeeping note. Number one is that please let's ensure that your video is on throughout the session. It's very, very important. And also it's important to also keep your microphones muted when not speaking, so that we can able to have a clear audio and understanding of what we are saying. And also importantly, you are also to use your chat box to drop your questions, comments, and what have you. And also we also have a dedicated Q&A session for each panel session that we have, so which means that we're having two facilitators today, and after each of them we'll be having a Q&A session. So that is very, very important. So having said that, let us try to kickstart the session. So to kick off, we will begin with the first session with the topic designing collaborative investigation from ideation to impact. We'll be talking about the designing collaborative investigations from ideation to impact. You should not forget that this team is focusing on collaborative journalism, right? Collaborative investigation, how we can make from strategy to impact. So but this first session, it will be focusing on designing collaborative investigation, from ideation to impact. And this session will cover the fundamental, of cross newsroom workflows for effective collaboration. And also it will also identify collaborative ready stories and define clear investigative scope, for journalists, and also using accountability focus, follow-up into investigation design. We've had a series of this seminar training before. We talked about the Rush model, and this is a kind of a follow-up to what we've had the other previous session. It is my pleasure to introduce our first facilitator, Muturayo Alaka, who will be taking us through this session. Muturayo Aduni Alaka is the Executive Director and CEO of Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism. She is a globally recognized executive leader, investigative journalism advocate, and democracy practitioner whose work sits at the intersection of ethical leadership, civil accountability, and inclusive governance. With more than 2 decades of experience, he has built, and sustained institutions that have defended the public interest, strengthen democratic culture, and empower communities through credible storytelling. She is a John S. Knight Fellow of Stanford University and a Harvard-trained executive in public leadership. It is our pleasure to have you on board, Muturayo. Over to you. Thank you. Hello, Muturayo, are you there?
Thank you, Nuruddin. Yes, I hear you clearly. Thank you, Nuruddin. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. A good afternoon to everyone for joining today's training. It's good to have you all on the call. And good afternoon to Mohammed Aruna, who will be the second resource person for today. It's an honor to share the stage with Mohammed, who is extremely passionate about journalism and the work that we all are doing. So thank you all for coming. Please, let's feel free to introduce ourselves in the chat, and so that we get to know the people in the room better. And I'm sure the team will share an attendance link so that people can register. So this is a topic that I'm extremely passionate about, collaborative strategy generally. I'll shortly share my screen so that you can see the slides from your end. But I just wanted to underscore my passion for this topic. It's something that I've been passionate about for a long time. Interestingly, just last week, I was attending the Collaborative Journalism Summit in Philadelphia in the US, and it was the 10th anniversary of the organization that was hosting the event. And it was interesting that, as an organization, we've done collaborative strategies and we've done investigative journalism and collaborative investigations since inception, in fact, and the work continues to become even more important as we go on. And I will underscore this as I move on in this session. So I am looking at my timer, so I would go straight quickly to my slides and then we can go through together. Just a moment, please. The share that I understand is different from what I see here. So just give me a moment to better. Okay, can you see my screen now? Okay, can you see my screen now?
No.
Okay, just a moment. Can you see it now?
It's loading now. Yes, we can. Now we can.
Great. Okay, so we'll just I'll just go ahead with it then. This is an advanced level training, so it is going to be assuming quite a lot of basic knowledge. If I am speaking a bit too advanced for you, go ahead and ask questions, put your questions in the chat. And if we can't take all the questions, go ahead and send an email to us. But it will be advanced, and I'll be taking it more from a high level in terms of trying to collaborate between organizations. I know that there are editors and leaders of newsrooms in the house. However, everything I say is very applicable to individual journalists, and I'll be willing to take questions. I'll try as much as possible. Nudin, please clarify, the time that I have now is for me to go through my slides. It's not the time for my Q&A, or is it included?
No. It's your time. You can go ahead.
Okay. Just to clarify so that
Yes,
we
please.
have enough time for questions. So I start by saying that, when you hear the words cabal, mafia, syndicates, can anyone tell us what any of these words mean? Please go ahead and raise your hand if you want to answer.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead, please.
all those words means, especially they used to use it for a very tough organization or tough group of people that is headed by people that always having a different intention with the government or organization.
Okay, can somebody else attempt when you hear cabal or you hear syndicates?
Yeah. I think Ibukun raised, hand or something. Rashid, you can go ahead.
Yes, I raised my hand. Good
All right,
afternoon, Ibukun.
All right,
All right.
go ahead.
An organized group with an objective, with an agenda. Same agenda, same objective, but organized group of people or company.
Okay, I'll take one last.
The constitution of vibrant party, the Progressive Congress.
I didn't hear
That
well.
is
There's a feedback on your.
in this election.
There's a feedback, so I didn't hear you well. Okay, I'll go ahead because of time. So when you hear many of these words, like some of you have said, they are organized groups They are strong. They work as a pack. But I think one other thing to underscore, especially when you hear mafia and rest, that often, can we all mute if we're not speaking, please? WSIG, can you do?
All right, we are working on that. Yeah, you can go ahead, Mutrayo.
It is also that many of these networks are networks of the underworld. They are corrupt networks for illicit financial flows and crimes, for environmental crimes, for electoral manipulation, gender injustice. You will be surprised to know that there are networks for digital surveillance. There are networks for disinformation. And increasingly, these networks are transnational and they are very connected across the world. There can be elections in Nigeria, and in faraway Malaysia, there is a network working to create, misinformation materials. They might not have created it because they are interested in the outcomes of the elections of Nigeria, or they might be sponsored. However, the major thing is that they work in collaboration and they have strategies. So increasingly, those that are, that have an objective for good, for building society, must begin to think of networking and collaborating, because the forces against you are extremely sophisticated. They are very organized. So, and investigative reporting, in addition to that, we're also working with challenges with the civic space. In the last 10 years, we've been speaking a lot about the fact that the civic space is shrinking. The resources that we have as individuals and as newsrooms are equally limited. There is information disorder. And some of you, Aruna will speak soon. He has experienced a lot of legal intimidation. There are digital threats. There are AI-driven manipulations, the deep fakes, and the rest of it. So it's very difficult for a single newsroom, sometimes even when you are big, to stand alone. Those that can stand alone in the face of these challenges are, the multi-billion-dollar newsrooms like New York Times, but even they need collaboration. So no single newsroom has expertise or data or capacity, sometimes even geographical reach. I've had situations where international media newsrooms will reach out to me and say, Mutrayo, we're working on this project. The project is in Nigeria. We need you to help us, to introduce us to journalists who we can work with, because we don't know the terrain. So even when you are international, even when you are big, sometimes it is language barrier. You might be living in the southwest of Nigeria. You want to do a story in the northeast of Nigeria. You do not speak the language there. You require collaboration. I did a project back, I think, like 2018 in the Niger Delta region, and I knew clearly that it was a project that I was going to fail hard if I did not proactively collaborate. And that was exactly what I did. I found journalists in 5 different states in the Niger Delta. I found a coordinated journalist. I found non-governmental organizations that were based in that area, and I worked through them. I worked with them to achieve the purpose, because, one person cannot do it alone, even audience access. So I put some examples of international collaboration you might know, and the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, the Global Investigative Journalism Network, which WSIG is a part of. They produced they led the Panama Papers. WSIG itself has led, and we keep leading collaborations. We have a regulatory trust monitoring program. We also have the Collaborative Media for Development, Inclusivity, and Accountability, under which we are hosting this project, the CMEDIA. It is clear, colleagues, that the future of investigative journalism is networked. It is strategic, it is interdisciplinary, and this is very, very important. It's not just journalism as an isolated purpose. Journalism is a purpose, is an endeavor that is connected to society. the future of journalism is audience aware, and it is indeed impact driven. So what makes a strong collaborative investigation? From your idea to shared mission. Number one thing that you must know is that you must have shared public interest purpose, and maybe beyond purpose, actually a shared value. But a shared purpose explains it. For you to collaborate with an individual or an organization, maybe organization to organization collaboration, or even as an individual, if you want to collaborate with an organization, you must first settle that you have shared interests, which is going to affect your values, that you care about the same things, that you care about, that your journalism has an overriding public interest. And this becomes important. I'll share a few case studies when like they say, when push comes to shove, if you have challenges in a collaboration, what is going to make the challenges, something that you can work on something that makes your project impossible, is this shared interest and shared value. If you get into, it's just like any other business. If you get into a business with someone who has another purpose, maybe you want to start, a school support system, a simple, school outreach program, and your own purpose is that you want to impact young people, but you collaborate with somebody who wants to make money off young people and their parents. That person is going to take away from your mission, because the person is going to be about money while you are about, building, making an impact in the student's life. So shared interest, shared value is extremely important. It's the first thing that you must look at when you want to collaborate. The next thing is that you must be strategic in your partner's selection. And when I say strategic in your partner selection, I'm speaking to the fact that, in choosing whoever you want to work with, in deciding that whether you can work with this person or the other, you have to look at what skills are they bringing to the table, what accesses
All
are
right.
they bringing to the table.
Sorry,
Can you hear?
sorry for cutting you. We can only see the front page of your slide. So I just want to confirm.
Okay, thank you for calling my attention to that. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is where I am now.
Yeah, all right. We can continue. All right.
Thank you so much, Nuruddin. So I'm speaking now to, strategic partner selection. If you want to pick someone to help you in a project, you must first think, what exactly do I need? Number one is shared public interest and purpose. What is it that we want to get done? I want to do a story on climate change in Enugu. And, that is my purpose. And I want to do this story because, the issue of erosion in this area is not well known enough. Or I want to speak to insecurity in Southwest Nigeria, the growing insecurity, trends of insecurity we are seeing in Southwest. Then you have to now say, who do I want to go with? So the first thing is to decide, where do you want to go? Let's say, for example, we want to get to Ikeja, which is a place in Lagos. But the next one is now, who do we want to travel with? Who do I want to go with? And in choosing who you want to go with, I'm speaking to the element you must be looking at. That person must have investigative depth. If you don't have, now there are so many reasons why people collaborate, and there are so many. And this collaboration, we are being extremely ambitious, trying to teach either my topic or the topic Haruna would take in 40 minutes. It is clearly impossible. So we're just going to touch on things. So there are so many reasons people collaborate, but you have to be self-aware to collaborate so that you know who you need. I just made an example of a project, an investigative project I did in the Niger Delta area of Nigeria. And I knew that, yes, I had investigative depth. But what I lacked was that I did not speak the language of the area. I couldn't go to, I did eventually, by the time and I'll speak about risk analysis shortly. By the time I did my risk analysis, I decided that it was going to be a waste for me to go to the Niger Delta at all. I was not going to be useful to myself in the Niger Delta. Why? I don't speak the language. There's a lot of insecurity in the area, and they are not friendly with journalists or anyone who comes to investigate issues. I was dealing with, particularly with the Niger Delta Commission. I was doing an investigation on the Niger Delta Commission. This is something that is bread and butter for so many people. They are not going to be happy with somebody sniffing around the project and what the project is about and what money was released. So by the time I did my risk analysis, I saw that I was not going to be useful to myself in the Niger Delta. So my strategic partners were people who then were going to be able to help me to collect the information that I needed. So what I did was to spend time strategizing on the instruments for collection of information. What kind of pictures am I looking for? What kind of information am I looking for? Who are the kind of people? Long list of kind of people I want to speak to. Who is where? What kind of accesses do I need? And all of that. So you have to bring in partners that are strategic, people that complement you. Partners that complement you. If you are very, very good with field reporting, but you're not good with writing, you might want to collaborate. Maybe 3 of you are collaborating to do a story. You might want to bring in somebody who writes really pretty, whose prose is really interesting and nice, so that, your beautiful field work can be also beautifully presented. If you are poor with data skills, there have been times when, people that we support with stories, they would have done great stories, but we find that their data skills are weak. So we find them collaborators who are strong with data skills, who are going to ask them, the people who are going to ask them about the numbers. What are your numbers? Have you put, and help them to show these numbers. Maybe you don't have multimedia storytelling skills, but the story you are doing will be better if presented, with multimedia storytelling skills. Then you want to look for that. There's sometimes audience reach. Under our CMEDIA project, we worked with 26 partners. And what we did was that sometimes a young or smaller newsroom, maybe based somewhere out of Lagos, will do a story and will give it to another newsroom. Let's say, for instance, an organization, and Aruna, who is on the call, his organization was part of it. Let's say Wiki Times does a story. We'll now give that story also, after Wiki Times has published it, we'll give it to the Foundation for Investigative Journalism. They would republish the story. They have very huge X following and social media following. So we're going to leverage that. So sometimes you collaborate because of, audience reach. And sometimes you collaborate outside journalism. And the case studies I will show you will show that you collaborate outside journalism, and that would help you to amplify your story. I speak about that more, with the rush strategy. It's not the topic today, though. So the next thing is that you want to, let me go back to that side. You want to have clear governance structure. If you're collaborating with someone from the beginning, you want to say, oh, this collaboration, the person who is going to be in charge of the collaboration is Nuruddin. Nuruddin is our leader. He's the one that will be telling us that, oh, we have 2 weeks to go. Is the main driver. This person, this second person, the person's work is to do the field work. This third person, the person's work is that when we bring it together, the person will help us with data, and then we'll jointly write. Or you are saying that, oh, in this story that we're doing, we have sequence, and I'll make example with stories to you shortly. We have sequence. This first organization has a big platform, so they're going to do the initial publishing, and every other person will republish with them. But what I'm just saying is that you have to have guidelines. This is how we're going to do this work. From the beginning, agree on guidelines. You don't have to make it so strict that you are now, some people sign MOUs in very, very huge global collaborations. But I've also found that, sometimes some good collaborations don't need MOU. WSIJ did not sign any MOU with any organization we have done collaborations with. But it starts with number one, shared interest. When you get number one right, when you collaborate with the right person, every other thing will be easy because their mindset, the mindsets will make a difference. When you get to places where you have challenges, like I said, values will rise rather than you having contentions over small things. And then the last thing is the trust infrastructure. You have to trust the people you are collaborating with, especially in investigative stories. Somebody can snitch on you and get you killed if you don't put the right people in the collaboration. Somebody can tell somebody you're investigating that, don't you know that, Wale is investigating so, and he has found out, now he has uncovered this. So you cannot afford to work with people that when you are asleep and you remember them, you get worried that, oh, that's what might say. When we do collaborative projects, huge collaborative projects, part of what we say is that nobody can publish anything. You cannot find a scoop between what we are finding out together and quickly rush and publish your own. But that promise can only be kept by people of integrity, people who understand the weight of the work, who understand the value of, jointly deciding on something. So pick people that you trust because of these are many reasons. I write here, and I have quotes at the end of all of my slides, that the greatest threat to collaboration is ambiguity. Ambiguity, you have to be clear-headed. What do we want to do? How do we want to do it? Who do we want to do it with? You have to be clear. Don't be ambiguous. Don't say, oh, maybe we'll do this and maybe we'll do this. When we were kids and you'll be doing a play without scripts. I don't know how many of you did plays without script as children. And it is as we start the play that we will say, okay, you are the headmaster. Okay, you are a teacher. Okay, you just come in as if you are walking past. And then, it's a play that kids do. But you cannot do that with a collaborative project. You have to have your scripts written. Now, I'll speak about the need to be dynamic. When you go to the field and you find new facts that you did not realize at the beginning, you can come back to the drawing table and say, oh, there's a new development. We need to change strategy. However, you must be clear from the beginning. Changing strategy is different from changing strategy because of additional information is different from lack of clarity. It's different from ambiguity. It's not the same as ambiguity. Do not be ambiguous. It is very, very important. Okay. Now, how do you build the architecture for reporting? How do you design how you are going to do the reports that you are going to do? Because you want to treat this, I always teach that investigative reports can be treated as an art and it can be treated as a science. It is treated as an art when, you are following the story and you're allowing the story to lead you to where it should go. You are not preempting the story. You don't say that just because your story title is that the governor of Ekiti stole. When you now do your investigation, you find that the governor did not steal. You say, no, I have to stick to this title because I've done a lot to get here. No. You have to be ready to change. That's where it is an art. But it is a science in that you can be strategic. You can plan. You can plan your investigative story, especially those of you that you really desire to do more investigative stories. But you're saying, I don't have time. My day-to-day work does not give me enough time for investigation. You can create a file and say, I want to investigate primary schools in this local government area. I want to investigate the supply of desk or the infrastructure, the sanitary infrastructure, the toilets available in primary schools in this area. And you can create a file and plan, and you can do it over 6 months and gradually do your investigation. But investigative scope here, we're speaking to how big do you want this investigation to be? When I was part of my design of my Rush model, I was doing a fellowship at Stanford, and part of what we were doing at the time was you are going to pitch your ideas and speak about your ideas to professors and leaders of industries. And one of the people, leaders of industries that I went to speak to about my Rush model When I got to him and I told him about, the dream and all of that, he was really fascinated, but he told me something that has stayed with me. He said, Motura, he said, ideas, he said, they can die of their own weight. When you make your scope too big, you say you want to do investigation on climate change in Nigeria. That is what they call White Elephant Project. You are not going to finish it in your career to do climate change in Nigeria. It is too wide. So you have to be more specific so that your idea does not die of its weight. The more specific you are, the higher your chances of success. The higher your chances of success. So if you are saying that you want to check the availability of maybe science teachers or maths teachers in schools, and you want to look at the budget for school buildings in a community or in an area, that's one is doable. But if you say, there was a partner that we had under our CMEDIA, they said they wanted to do sustainable development goals across all of the country, and I told them, this project, you will not even be able to know exactly what you achieved at the end of 3 years because it is too big. Why don't you narrow down? Maybe pick 2 or 3 states in the country, and you drill down, you pick one issue per time, and you drill down so that you can see your success. So your investigative scope is very, very important. Otherwise, you are going to be investigating forever if your scope is too large. If you say, all of the Nigeria budget is too big, just pick something, maybe primary health center budget in a particular state or in a zone in a particular state or in FCT. So investigative scope is very, very important when you are doing investigative work. Make sure that your scope is not too wide, that it is something that you can manage. Also, very, very importantly, your risk mapping. You have to map your risk early. You have to know the risk that you may be exposed to because of the story that you are doing. Please, this is extremely important. Investigative stories are risky. They have legal risk, they have physical risk, they have digital risk, there is trauma exposure, there is political pressure, there is source protection concerns. So you have to sit down and say, I am going, like I was telling you about the Niger Delta. I sat down and I mapped my risk, and I knew that it was not going to be possible for me to just go to the Niger Delta to go and do an investigation on the Niger Delta Development Commission all by myself. So map your risk. If you cannot speak the language, you are at risk. And it's a volatile area, you're at risk. If you are using verbose language, you're just using adjectives anyhow, I would say that, journalism and adjectives are not friends, because in journalism, every adjective you use is a claim. You must substantiate, you must provide evidence. You must provide evidence. If you say that, a so-called somebody called Kingsley is the most handsome man in Anambra, you must tell us the competition that held where he was declared the most handsome man. You cannot just say it. You cannot say the best city no. You must tell us the ratings, the facts that made Lagos the best city in West Africa. You cannot just say it because you love Lagos so much. So you must map your risk. So your language, it can take you to jail. It can make somebody sue you such that they'll sue you such that you are never able to practice journalism again in your life. So you have to map your risk. What am I getting into? What do I need? How will I protect myself? How will I protect myself? Can I protect myself so that you know whether you want to continue with the project or the project you will not be able to do it, or so that you can get protection. Sometimes there have been cases where people are doing stories, and as we tell the reporter, before you go, write the police in that state, just for records, to say, I am working on whatever. Of course, you have to do it with discretion also, because even, somebody in the police, not the police as an institution, but somebody there might be a person of interest. We tell them, ask for police protection. let your editors know. And that is why it is important, if you are working in an organization, if you're a staff of an organization, it is important that you have not taken the job just for money, that you are also working with people of integrity and people of value, because your editor can blow your cover if they are not people of value. And if you're a freelancer also, work with credible platforms where people understand that this is a very, very important endeavor that you're doing. So map your risk. Like I said, it is so ambitious that we want to take this topic in less than 1 hour. So I'm only going to give you teasers that you can work on. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer. Another mapping that is important is your stakeholders. A lot of times you say you are balancing the story, say 2 sides of a story. There's no such thing as 2 sides of the story. There are many sides to a story. If I pick a story of let's say corporal punishment in schools, for instance, you are talking about corporal punishment as an issue. So who are the experts in that regard, in school safety and child rights and all of that? The school itself, the schools that you are dealing with, that's a stakeholder group. The government agencies and institutions, different government agencies and institutions across, all government levels, across all government arms, across all issues. They are stakeholders. The parents are stakeholders. The children are stakeholders, but you know that there are special rules for minors. You cannot just interview a minor without the consent of the guardian that is an adult. So map your stakeholders and map it clearly, so that clearly you would know, what are the affected communities, who are the power actors, who are the institutions, who are the regulators, who are the civic actors, who are your potential allies, who are your likely opponents, who is not going to be happy when you publish your story. It is part of your stakeholders. Sometimes when we are mapping stakeholders, we only map allies. If you are doing a good strategic work, you have to map stakeholders also that will disagree with you, because dissent is also a very, very important standpoint. And then finally, the timeline, so that you don't do what I call forever living project, forever living product stories. We are investigating the outbreak of a particular disease, and you have been investigating it for 2 years, and you are still investigating. If you don't have a timeline, because collaborations are very difficult, remember that you have your own job, you have your own other stories, you are a journalist, you are writing daily stories if you are working in a newsroom that is not purely investigative. So there are so many things pulling you in so many directions. So the timelines will help you and your partner or partners be disciplined to know that, in 2 weeks, we need to have done our field work. In 3 weeks, in 4 weeks, we need to have our first draft. The editor will see it. We're going to get pictures, just clearly state your timelines. And, when you're stating your timelines, be as clear as you can be, so that you are able to follow and see through your timelines. So you have to ensure that whatever good investigations that you are doing, that they are credible, they are safe, they will have reach, and that they will have impact. Let me move quickly because of my time. I'm running out. When you are managing collaborations across teams and borders, you have to have leadership. There has to be coordination. There has to be editorial discipline. And I've led a lot of collaborations, and I know that leadership is so important. Whenever you are in a collaborative or a collective where you are doing a joint project, even if it's not journalism, you have to know that leadership is important. If you are not the leader, you must be sure that you have a strong leadership, somebody who is pulling things together. You have to ensure this, so that what you are doing will be coordinated. You are going to have challenges when you're collaborating, like you have challenges as an individual. You're going to have challenges. You need strong leadership and strong structure to be able to get what you want to do done. So in terms of your operational priorities, you have to look, for instance, at communication system. Are we going to do editorial meetings? Are we going to be sharing our evidence? Are we going to be tracking sources? Are we going to be planning our publication? And I will talk about that. I'll go back to timeline briefly to talk about planning publication, because it's a very, very strategic move if you are doing a good investigation. How about your editorial consistency, your fact checking? So one of you cannot write that, 20 people died. Another person writes that 25 people died. You have already, killed your investigation on arrival. It is dead on arrival. What will be your verification protocols? How do you recheck your facts? How do you recheck your fact? You don't want to, in an investigation, state something that people realize that is a misinformation. Because if you misinform people in an investigation, you discredit the whole investigation, unfortunately, because people are going to say that if you cannot get your facts right, how can we be sure that you are getting your main claim, the main claim of the story, right? Ethical alignment. Very, very important. And that is why, I started from interest and values. You have to work with people who you have ethical alignment with. If your collaborator believes that the story has a price, that if a governor can build them a house, that story is good, it can as well die, then your story is not going to see the light of the day. So ethical alignment is extremely important. Language accuracy. You have to know what does, especially when you are losing. That's why for me, I like the is and was. Very, very simple language a lot, because if you are not careful, if you are just using big language in your stories, you're going to end up in a place where you are using words that become so vague and so difficult to interpret. Then consistency of framing. What exactly is the position that you are taking? You are talking about, defilement of a minor. You have to be clear. For instance, if you're talking about an issue like forced child marriage, one of you cannot be talking about child marriage, another person talking about forced child marriage. And somebody listening to me might say, oh, those are the same thing. No, they are not the same thing. It was Rotimi Sankori that, emphasized this long enough for me to also pay a lot of attention to it, that you can't say something like child marriage. Children do not marry. Children cannot marry. Children should not marry. So it is forced child marriage, because children can only be forced into getting married because they are children. They don't have what it takes to understand it. But if you are working with somebody who does not understand the peculiarity of language use and is careless with language, then in their own publication, they can present forced child marriage as if it's cool, as if it's something that, well, society does it. And so, no, it's a crime against the child. And mostly, it's the girl child. I'm just making that as an example. But my point is that you have to be clear. There has to be editorial consistency. Then security culture is very, very important. Like I said, there's so much to go through and there's so limited time. All of you have to have your protocol of security. Oh, if we get to a place, I'm going to call in, I'm going to send a message. If you don't hear from me after so time, please call this person. You have to be clear about your security culture so that when you're in the field, people know, or people can sense when you are in danger, even if you are not together, because you have set together, what your security culture and what your security protocol will be. That, oh, on a second ring, if I cannot pick, I'll send a text. These are very, very important. Those people who have done very high-level investigation, they know what we're talking about. So common reasons quickly that collaborations fail. Unclear expectations. If our expectations are not aligned. Ego conflicts. This is perhaps the biggest killer of collaboration. I always say that one of the biggest factors for successful collaboration is a generous spirit. A generous spirit. A spirit that, it's a different thing for you to disagree. You are going to disagree with people, but you also have to have that generosity of spirit to be able to accommodate a lot of people, hear them out. I've had the opportunity of leading, collaboratives, organizations, 18 organizations in collaboratives, 30-something organizations in collaboratives, and bigger collaboratives. And it's just the capacity, to accommodate a whole lot of different kinds of temperament and personalities and people. And yes, something can upset you because you are human, but it's not based on ego. It's based on issues. If you are upset, it's because ethics has been breached, excellence has been breached, not because of, how the person looked at you, or, those things that are petty. So ego conflicts can really, really kill your collaboration. Weak communication, if you're not telling yourselves, oh, I just found out this thing. Oh, I went to this governor's office and he offered me this. Maybe you did not collect it, but because you did not tell your team that somebody even offered you, they begin to become suspicious of you because they are thinking, oh, when they hear that you were offered, but you never mentioned that you were offered, they say, maybe he or she collected the bribe. So you have to communicate, rush timelines.
So,
You
sorry,
cannot.
sorry, Moturano. This is exactly 1:45. We give you 3 minutes just to run through your slide.
Yeah, I'll take 10, please. Because I'll take 10. It's not possible for me to finish in three minutes.
All right.
Like I said, there's so much to cover. So I'll leave this place. I've already talked about absence of trust. Oh, somebody said something. Is the person speaking to me? Okay, I'll leave this page for you to read.
You can go ahead.
I'll leave this page for you to read.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. I'll leave this page for you to read on your home, but I just wanted you to be aware of, data, technology, and AI, the fact that it can aid your investigation. It can also be harmful to your investigation. So use it, as you need. I need to move fast before Nuruddin practically throws me out of the room. So journalism, okay, times of impact, you can read that also. My colleagues will give you the slides, and I talk about the rush model here, report until something happens with them. I just mention it. Like I said, it's not based on rush, but it's a strategy that you might want to learn more about. Then sustainability. What's sustainability and the future of journalism? The fact that, sometimes when you collaborate, you can save yourself some money, you can save yourself resources, you can save yourself stress. One of the things that are the thing that is underreported in journalism is the trauma of investigative story on the investigative reporters. I've written about it. I intend to write more about it. It's a very serious issue. So when you are sharing a story, you can share that trauma instead of you thinking about, Juliana Francis, she's done a lot of stories on extrajudicial killing. It is extremely traumatic, but if you have 2 or 3 doing the story, you can share the burden of the trauma of the story. Sometimes when you go to places where there are displaced, children, there's a lot of anguish, sometimes in investigative reports, or you're just seeing, the massive figures that individuals have stolen. It can keep you awake at night. So you can share the tension and share all of those things when you let me quickly in 5 minutes talk about, a quick case study. Let There Be Light is a project that we did at the center here. I had the privilege of leading the project. Let There Be Light is a project that we did across, media organizations. I've listed the media organizations that we worked with on that project: Premium Times, ICI, our International Center for Investigative Reporting, Daily Trust, The Cable. And then there was a civil society partner, Primorg. And we're talking about Nigeria. We're leading to Nigeria's 68th anniversary. We're talking about the need for there to be light in the country. And, we planned the story together. We did a training for this group of organization. Like I said, this is extremely high level. We did training, we brought resource persons together, but you can make those things happen even at individual levels. There are veterans, senior colleagues who have reported. Let's say you want to do a story on oil and gas. Look for credible senior colleagues. At this stage, even sometimes, look for the senior colleague that has the knowledge. Just let them give you general knowledge of things. And then you go and plan your story if they don't have credibility, for instance, and they have knowledge. So you put the group together, we plan them together, and we add 4, publications. Here I have the links to some of those publications that I've put in the slides for you to look at. Talking about timelines, we planned the story to come out in October because it was Nigeria's Independence Month, and wanted to ride on the fact that Nigeria was marking another independence without light. And, with the story, even though, of course, as a country, our electricity problems did not go away with this story. However, there was a particular community that had not had power for many, many years, that we were able to get power to because of, this collaborative work and working with a civil society organization that was also helping us to advocate the story. And, another case study on school safety, I've put the list and all of that there. And then also I have put here a link to a piece I wrote. It's a short piece on LinkedIn. Collaboration is today and the future. Here is how to build a collaborative strategy. It's a very, very simple piece to read. My final slide here is that, you have to have the capacity to ask the right questions. I write some of the questions. Many of these questions are who, but more importantly, you have to ask the why and so what questions. Why and so what? You have to think strategically. You have to be intentional. You have to be rigorous. Please, when you are doing investigative work, especially when it's collaborative, please don't be mentally lazy. Don't say, oh, we've put it there, they will find out. Please read line by line, be rigorous. Because like I mentioned in the beginning, the cabals, the cults, the syndicates, they are rigorous people. They are brutal people. So when you are doing your story, don't be careless with the facts. Don't be careless with the information that you are writing. Don't be careless with your evidence. What is his name? Yusuf Ali of The Nation. He has had 13 lawsuits on himself alone, 13 lawsuits on stories. But guess what? He won 12 out of 13, and the 13th one was thrown out because the person who had charged him died. But when he tells the story, he always emphasized the fact that, he documented everything along the line. He would document footages. So even when the police will be sent to him and they'll come and ransack his house or his office to look for things, he always had, copies. So be rigorous, be extremely rigorous, ensure that you are ethical. Don't, because you have information on someone, blackmail them. Journalism, investigative reporting is not witch hunting. We're trying to make society better. So you're not trying to pull any governor. You don't have anything against any individual. You just want a better society. So don't make it personal and become unethical and start threatening people and telling them, oh, by the time I'm done with my story, you'll be finished. That's not your aim. Your aim is, if students don't have desk, you want them to have desk. If the road is bad, you want the road to be done. If somebody has stolen, you want the person to face the law. Your aim is not individual. Then, ensure that, you design for impact from the beginning. Everything I'm talking about is about strategy. The thing about strategy is that you know your end from the beginning. Design the impact from the beginning, but remain flexible. Don't stick to it. So thank you very much. Nuruddin, I'm out of your space before your red card.
All right. Thank you so much. Even though you requested for 10 minutes, well, you're able to use 8 minutes. So I have 2 minutes myself, right? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. It's really interesting, right? And you've said a lot of things, but because of our time is fast spent, so let us have our question and answers in the chat box. I have to let us know that the attendance for this training has been dropped in the chat box. Please let us feel it is very, very important. And shortly, our poll will be coming up. So please let us, be ready for that. It's just a simple question. Let us, feel that. If you don't see it on the screen, you can just check, the chat box. You see it there so that you can be able to know that you are following us. So while we are waiting for our questions, please, you can drop it on the chat box for us so that we can be able to ask Muturayo our questions, whatever we want to, get from her. Yeah. Yeah, we now have the poll now. You can check the chat box if it's not appearing on your screen. Yeah, just a quick one. So while we are doing that, we can also feed the attendance as well. And if you have questions, please, it is time for us to, seek clarification, questions, whatever things we don't understand. While we are waiting for that, Motrea already said a lot of things, right? Even though if you can allow her to use, 2 hours, she's ready to do that. But because of the time, we just have to, manage that. Yeah, you talked a lot of things about, collaboration. That you even said that some collaboration doesn't need, MOU, that you start from, shared interest. So A lot of these key things are very, very important. So we are expecting your questions. Yeah, we are expecting your questions, your comments before we move to the next session. Yeah, and another thing I also took from this. Oh, all right.
Okay, my name is Amina Ibrahim from Premier Radio. Mine is not a question, but to appreciate you for educating us more about this project. Actually, I can tell you that I am very educated today, and I appreciate the effort that you put in place to ensure the success of this program. That's why I say it is just an appreciation from me. Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you, Mr. Abdullah Aminu from Kano Premier Radio. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, do we have any other person with questions? All right.
Hello, I have a question.
All right, please go ahead. Your name?
Good. I am Usman A. Marong, a journalist from the Gambia and also a media manager.
From Gambia, right?
Gambia, yeah, right. Yes.
All right. Go ahead.
I've been in this training for quite a long time now. I think I was the first batch that you guys trained. But then there was also this project. I think it's the same project that there was formed for people to fill in and then run investigative collaborative story in return for service. I received the email, but then I wanted to apply, but then I went to Ghana for a fellowship together with some of my colleagues who are in this forum, one like Nima. So upon our arrival, we rechecked the form, but it's like the form is closed. I think I even sent an email to ask if the form can be reopened so that people like us who are interested in doing investigative story could fill and then, have our mentors, our coaches to guide, and then we run these investigative stories because Gambia right now is election year. We have a lot of issues here that needed to be investigated. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Osman. Yeah. Mr. Rashid. Yeah. You can go ahead.
Okay, yeah. First off, thank you, Mrs. Mofraya Laka, for that wonderful piece. You just that nugget you just dropped. It's really a good one. I want to say that though the field of journalism is now becoming dynamic in the sense that the way at which informations, the reports are being investigated these days are becoming so dynamic. Like for myself personally, let me first of all introduce myself. Sorry, my name is Rashid Olalikon. I am a journalist for news Nigeria Niger Delta Today news newspaper and here in South Nigeria. So and I used to be or let me say, I'm still a cybersecurity and digital forensic expert, though I studied mass communication, first, second, and third degree. But I fell in love with digital forensic, and also because of my theoretical background in journalism. So, and from there, I went to, getting my hands-on on OSINT, that is open source journalism. And so far it has helped in exposing my knowledge in investigative journalism as a whole. But my question per se is, with the way things are going and the way, like I said, journalism is becoming so dynamic, and investigative journalism is now taking a new phase where we have AI, artificial intelligence, and how do journalists, emerging journalists who are coming from being a straight news reporter or a correspondent and interested in journalism like investigative journalism, how do they go by with investigating reports in such as for instance, Nigeria as a whole. We know how much we are dealing with insecurity, banditry, and I was having a conversation with one of my teammates the other time, whom we are both journalists together, and he was saying that he believes that Nigerian insecurity problem is a political thing. Let me use that quote. It's a political thing. It's not really it's not really a security thing. It's a political thing. You understand? So investigating such things, you understand, with what we have all around, how do you think emerging journalists can use can actually get to report this thing? So I don't know if I'm making any sense, please.
Okay, let me attempt, because of time, let me make an attempt to what I understand. I always say for AI that, AI, like I said, there's a page in my presentation where I've made a mention of the risk and opportunities that AI presents. And there are so many tools. My session is less than 1 hour, so I can't go through OSINT. There are so many technological tools for pictures analysis, for identifying where a picture first showed, for encryption, for somebody asked a question about managing communication when you are investigating. There are encrypted platforms where you can keep your messages and where you can manage your messages. You won't use your regular emails, for instance. However, at the center of this is the fact that you have the same rules. Journalism rules have not changed despite AI. The fact that your story must be credible, so you must still do the field work. So, for instance, if you want to substantiate something that can be vague, like insecurity is a political issue, it is not untrue, but it is very difficult to substantiate. You must do the groundwork of serious research and involvement. There is something from way back that is called PEP, politically exposed persons. So you must do your PEP analysis well to say, okay, this governor is involved with this person who is, and you must do your evidence, your document trail well. So AI does not take that away. What AI can help you to do, for instance, for Panama Papers, they had over 11 million, over 11 million documents, leaked documents that they were dealing with. What technology helped them to do is that when they put all of those documents and they powered it with, as far back as when the Panama Papers, which is, quite a long time if you look at the advancement that has happened since Panama Papers. But as far back as that time, they were able to use technology to sort the documents, by countries, by issues, by trends, and all of that, because there's no way human beings would have gone through over 11 million documents but they were able to use technology to do that. However, the work of fact checking or verification, it is still the journalist's work. It is still the work of the journalist, and you must do that work. The work of, if you say that, if you are able to identify a number of people in high places who are involved in one thing or the other. For instance, in the US, it is being reported that, Trump's son is very involved as a company that is involved with security issues. And so, the public is raising concerns around, how that can influence decision making around security and the rest of it. You must have your evidence. You must have your people evidence. You must have all of the evidence that journalism requires you to have. What AI can do for you is it can map trends. It can, for instance, pick up all dates that are related, all names that are related in a large document. It can map sequences. It can pick up, the major themes in a very, very large body of work. If a body of work is in PDF, it can convert it to more usable documents. But after it has done that for you, you must still go through it line by line vigorously. You must still do your journalism. You must still do your reporting. And AI will not do that. Yes, there are platforms now that, AI is writing stories. AI can help you to put together a story after you've done the field work, but you must put the body and then you must read so that it has not, introduced words for you that you do not put in your initial investigation that puts you in jail. You cannot say, oh, you cannot write under your story and say, oh, our story was edited by AI, so we do not, we recluse ourselves or remove ourselves from any damage that this might cause to the public. It is your damage. So you must read it line by line. So I totally understand we're in a different age. A lot of things have changed, and AI is definitely something that we all must, ensure that we are trying to catch up with. But even AI itself needs to be interrogated. The creators, the platforms, there's accountability that needs to be done in that regard. So that's what I'll say. I'm sure that we need to move to the next session now.
Yeah, thank you, Muturayo. Thank you so much. So I have a question here in the chat box that has been there for a while now. So just a single question. So this is from Alex. He says, how do journalists effectively manage data sharing, source protection, verification, and publication coordination across different countries and legal systems? So that is from Alex. So he's trying to understand how a journalist can do all these things effectively. Yeah. Hello, can you hear me? You are muted.
Yes, I was trying to unmute. So
Okay.
I've already talked about the fact that there are platforms that are encrypted for you to, send messages when you are doing your collaborations. There are platforms like Secure Drop. So there are so many platforms. If you search, you'll find encrypted platforms. But I want to speak more to across borders, legal systems. That is why each of you can't afford to collaborate with, if you are mentally rigorous, you cannot afford to collaborate with somebody who is not mentally rigorous, except that person is bringing something else to the collaboration. So the mental rigor is your own work. Maybe the person is bringing sources. The person knows a lot of, country-based sources, has high-profile access. Let's say you want to interview, one of the leaders of Boko Haram now. You are the brain behind it, but there's somebody who has the connection and who is, discreet and all of that. That person is bringing that to board. But the reason I said they have to be rigorous is that if there are different legal climates, for instance, you are going to publish in different jurisdictions. Each of those partners, you must have partners, and each of those partners must read the laws and the requirements of that jurisdiction to ensure that you are protected in terms of how you publish your story. Let me go back to Panama Papers. Premium Times participated in Panama Papers and, wrote some stories from Panama Papers. They wrote mainly about the Nigerians mentioned in Panama Papers. And they wrote them within, the precinct of Nigeria's laws and what is expected of Nigeria's laws. Other people wrote, in other parts of the world based on. So those stories will be customized and reviewed. That is why you cannot just write one story. If you are doing cross-border collaboration, you can't write just one story and publish it everywhere just like that. There might need to be tweaks here and there, so that also, if your story is too generic, then who are you holding accountable, for instance? Who is accountable? Because stories are supposed to hold powers accountable. So who are you holding accountable if your story is just, oh, people do this or people don't do that? So you have to learn the jurisdiction and communication. You will decide, all of you will decide. People say WhatsApp says that they are end-to-end encrypted, but there have always also been investigative reporters, for instance, who have said, oh, that might not be totally true. So, but there are platforms that are more secure for emails, for messaging. If you check online, teaching OSINT is even if we were teaching OSINT for a whole day, we'll not finish, but we'll get across all. But by yourself, you can just go ahead and read online on, on OSINT's frameworks to help you, and that OSINT means open source intelligence. So there are so many open source intelligence frameworks available. Go ahead and read OSINT investigative journalism online. You'll find so many good, useful materials. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mutrayo, for that insightful session. So it's time to move to the second session. Please, for us in the chat box, let us fill the attendance. It is very, very important while we move to the next session. So we now move to the second session titled Executing Collaborative Investigation from Team Selection to Storytelling and Publication. So in this session, we learn, the practical approaches to selecting and managing reporters, how to coordinate reporting workflows, strengthen storytelling, and also the practical strategies, for editorial quality and executing effective publication strategies. It is my pleasure to introduce our second facilitator, Mr. Aruna Mohammed. Aruna Mohammed Salisu is a Nigerian investigative journalist, publisher, and graduate researcher, at the Media School, Indiana University, United States of America. He founded Wikitimes in 2018, an investigative outlet, in the northern Nigerian news desert region, and has led many investigative, into corruption, terrorism financing, and abuse of public power. Wikitimes is the target of 9 strategic lawsuits, that was slapped by politicians, corporation, and officials naming its reporting. It was arrested repeatedly by Nigerian authorities, and left the country. That was in April 2024. Aruna is an incoming doctoral student, starting in fall. It's our pleasure to have you, Mr. Aruna Mohammed Salisu. Can you hear me?
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, Mr. Aruna.
Thank you so much, Nuruddin.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Over to you. You have 40 minutes for this session.
I am afraid I may not even exhaust up to 30 minutes because I have another scheduling issue. So thank you so much. Nuruddin, we have a tradition in my place where I come from. If you have 2 people that are presenting or that are going to give a talk, you might want to start with the less experienced one, because the idea is that they may shit on the table and the more experienced people will come and clean their shit. How on earth will you put me on the same platform with Madame Motunrayo and then allow her to speak first? No, that is a disservice to journalism. So please don't do that next time. But thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate that. And let me quickly start by commending Madame Motunrayo for your consistency for doing this to journalism, to the civic space generally. If there is one person in Nigeria that I always reference when it comes to being consistent in helping our journalism ecosystem, I think your name rings a bell in all the places. So thank you for doing that. I don't know, because you have done the heavy lifting, which makes my work very easy, actually. So I'm just going to talk very briefly, and hopefully we will have time to interact and take questions from whoever is willing to ask questions. So let me quickly share my screen, if you will allow me to do that.
Yes, you can.
It looks like I will also struggle to share my screen here. Let me see. Oh no, I am.
Yeah, we can see now. Yeah, from our end. Yeah, we've shared it from
So
our
what
end.
can you see? Can you see the slide?
Yes, we can see the slide. Yeah, we can see the slide.
Awesome. Okay, so let me minimize this. Okay, so thank you so much. So what I'm just going to do is to share my own experience as a publisher who is managing Wikitimes, and a platform that is operating from a region where you really find platforms like ours that are consistent in trying to hold power to account. Of course, there are a lot of small newsrooms in northern Nigeria, from radio stations to online platforms, but not many of us are actually courageous enough or consistent in trying to hold power to account. And so for somebody like me coming from that axis, from that part of the world, where you really find those kind of platforms, I can authoritatively tell you that without collaborations, somebody like me or like Wikitimes would have gone under. So I want you to always reflect on that as I speak, because I'm speaking from that vantage point, from the perspective that I'm running a small newsroom that is understaffed, that is understaffed, that has a very small budget, that has very few capacitated staff, but that is exposing power, that is holding powerful people accountable, that is doing a lot of stories, that is consistently, stepping on the toes of powerful people. So just imagine a platform operating in that kind of context, like Wikitimes is currently doing, and then remaining consistent despite the lawsuit, despite the threats we continue to face, despite the arrest and detention. So it would have been impossible practically without collaboration. So right. So what I want to start with is, many of us are familiar with the culture in the newsroom. We always get excited when we formulate a very beautiful story idea, or when we get hold of data that we think is going to be useful in holding somebody to account. The excitement is very visible many a times in a typical newsroom. So, but it's one thing to get excited because you get hold of a very beautiful story idea, or you have commensurate data at your disposal that you want to use in holding somebody to account. And it's another thing entirely different when that story idea that you have crosses a lot of borders. And when I say borders here, like Matura rightly mentioned, we are not just talking about borders outside Nigeria. We are also talking about borders beyond your reach. Borders, for example, that crosses in a different context, where maybe a different language is spoken, where a different culture is at play, other than what you know or what you are used to. So those are borders that are beyond that story idea you have, which is beautifully formulated by either you or collectively by your newsroom. You are now dealing with borders or jurisdictions that are outside your own sphere of influence. So on my screen, you will see what is here, which typically represents the tradition in a typical newsroom. And you will see what should be, which stretches around why sometimes we have to collaborate on certain stories. So, of course, the central argument here is that one newsroom can find the story, but one newsroom rarely survives publishing it. And because of the scenario I'm just trying to paint, if you are trying to find the money, or trying to trail how a particular illicit transactions happened that crosses certain borders, it may be very impossible for you to do that trail alone as a reporter who is coming from Wikitimes or who is coming from northern Nigeria. If the border of your story, for example, crosses that sphere of influence that you are familiar with, or it may be practically impossible for you to absorb the cost of litigations that comes with that story. And just as an example, like you guys have rightly heard from Madam Motunrayo, we have a lot of lawsuits at Wikitimes, 9 of them. In fact, the 10th one landed a few days ago. Why I didn't include it, because it's still part of an existing lawsuit. So I would still assume we have 9 lawsuits, but I can tell you there are 10 in practical terms now, because The guys that sued us in Bauchi went to another state and instituted another lawsuit on the same story. So we have a lot of those kind of lawsuits, for example. So you could imagine the toll from a small outlet that is well understaffed, that has very negligible amounts of money to play around with. So, and then in our own context, for example, as a small outlet, what is typically the reality with outlets like ours is that when you are doing a story alone as a single lone ranger, either as a newsroom or as a reporter, the tendency that when you are arrested or when those powerful actors get hold of you, the tendency for that story to see the light of the day is highly unlikely. It will be very difficult for that to happen. So this is where collaboration is important here. If 10 newsrooms, for example, are collaborating in that story, it will be practically impossible for those guys to get hold of those 10 reporters or 10 newsrooms at the same time. Very, very difficult. Let's say Wiki Times, Daily Nigerian, Solace Base, the WSCIJ, or Premium Times are collaborating on a story, and they have pool of reporters from all these newsrooms that are working on that collaboration. So if they succeed in arresting Wiki Times, for example, or reporters coming from Wiki Times, it will be very difficult for them to arrest all the reporters from all the other newsrooms that are on those platforms. So that is why I'm making an argument that traditionally this is what we are used to, but then in the spirit of collaboration and in the spirit that we want those stories to go beyond those borders or to defy those traditional blockades that are posing challenges to us to pursue those stories or to get them published, we might naturally want to what? Collaborate with other platforms, with other newsroom and other reporters. And that is why, yes, one newsroom can find the story idea, one reporter can formulate what it takes to do that story. But because of those borders that are sometimes very inevitable, that are very difficult to navigate, the idea is that we should get other reporters on board or other journalists or other newsroom on board so that we will collectively navigate those stops. And sometimes I say this to journalists that, look, I think we should grow past competition. If the general philosophy in journalism is to hold power to account, is to make our systems better. Because I always tell people, these guys that are stealing our resources, that are, looting our money, they are collaborating. It's practically impossible for a sitting governor, for example, to steal 5 billion without collaborating with other people. It is unlikely. They may collaborate with somebody who is going to what? Initiate the transaction in the first place. It could be a contract. It's somebody's idea to say, let's give a contract to address a project. It's somebody's idea to say, oh, we need to give this contract to our friend or to the son of the governor or to the wife of the governor. And somebody will say, oh, if you do that, obviously people will identify that this contract is given to the wife of the governor or the son of the governor. Why don't you use proxy companies, for example? Somebody may initiate that kind of idea. And then when they want to loot the money, somebody has to sign the check, a different individual entirely. They will also want to collaborate with a banker who is smart in money laundering and who can also help them get shell companies outside Nigeria, beyond your immediate border as a journalist, beyond your immediate jurisdiction, for example. So these are people that are actively collaborating at our collective detriment. So the question then becomes, what is stopping us from also collaborating as journalists, even though the idea is from one individual, the idea is from one newsroom? So we ought to defy the tradition and focus on what is realistic, more so because of the complexity of the issues we consistently see in the journalism ecosystem that necessitate why we need to actually collaborate. So now, the fundamental question becomes, how do we actually design, run, and then prove that a collaborative project is actually worth it? So I'm going to walk through these three stages very, very quickly. Nuruddin, can you confirm if my screen is still visible? Because I can't see what is happening in the background because I'm projecting.
We can
I'm only
see.
seeing my screen.
We can see your screen. So we now have
Excellent.
strategy, execution, and impact.
Thank you. Thank you for that confirmation. So,
all right.
Yeah, like I mentioned, I'm going to run through these three things very quickly. And thank you again to Madam Muturai, who has already done the heavy lifting. So, how do we now design, run, and prove that a collaborative project is actually worth our attention and worth our time? So, you might want to be very deliberate when you are talking about your own strategy. And here I want to just hopefully share 5 things you may ponder on if you are designing a collaborative project. And then hopefully when I'm talking about execution, I will share, at least from my own personal experience, what it means to run a collaborative project without actually breaking it, in the middle of execution. And I will also talk very briefly about impact beyond what we can see and measure, to also snowball into how the impact could actually improve, your credibility as an individual journalist and also a small newsroom that is coming from a very volatile space. So in terms of strategy, I am making an argument here that collaboration is not necessarily a friendly arrangement. And this is very, very important. And thank God Mutunrai has really stretched on that. You don't have to bring your friends just because they are your friends or just because you like them or you guys share the same worldview and stuff like that. No, it should defy that kind of thinking. It should go beyond that actually. It should stretch into defining or engineering a structure that should even start before your reporting begins. This is important because, look, if you fail to get it right at initial, at the strategy stage, I'm telling you it's going to break down and you may find it very, very difficult to address that. So there are 5 things, like I mentioned, that I want us to quickly look at here. The first thing has to do with collaborate with the subject. I mean, when the subject is bigger than your jurisdiction. So I can give you an example. As a small newsroom that is understaffed, that lacks the resources to chase big investigation, you may find it difficult to actually use your staff and use the main resources you have to chase big investigations. So one of the key decisions you have to take, at the very get-go, is to concede that, look, this project is very ambitious. This project is bigger than me as an individual journalist, and it's perhaps bigger than my own newsroom to execute alone. And therefore, I would want to be deliberate in getting other people to join this project, because I am convinced that at the end of the day, I'm just looking at the broader goal, which is to make society better, which is to hold power to account, or which is to expose corruption that is really affecting the interest of the public. And that should be the goal, for goodness sake. I tell this to a lot of people all the time, that if the goal of journalism is to make society better, then we should grow past competition. We should always ponder on the idea that, look, at the end of the day, the end justify the means. So if what I'm aiming at is to make our systems better, is to make our society have a system that has checks and balances that is able to hold power to account, then I should defy the idea that I have to get it alone. I have to win it alone, right? You have to bring other people because the project at hand is bigger than you as an individual journalist, and it's perhaps bigger than your newsroom, and that is why you would want to bring other partners on board. And Motungrayo gave the Panama as an example, which is also interestingly part of my slide, which is one of the biggest collaborative projects that many journalists make reference to when they are talking about collaborative investigative journalism. And of course, Premium Times in Nigeria did a very, very phenomenal job working with the International Consortium for Investigative Journalism in doing the Nigeria version. So you will see Panama is a small country of just 4.5 million people as of the last time I checked, but it's a destination for shell companies for global corruptions that are happening all over the world. And when the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists got hold of the millions of files that was used in exposing big global actors in the Panama Papers, they realized that the scandal spans different countries. And it's beyond, for example, for say the New York Times or Washington Post to handle that kind of investigation alone, because there are a lot of actors that are in different jurisdictions that are found to have committed a lot of atrocities affecting their citizens. So the wisest thing to do at that material time was to, bring a lot of newsrooms on board because the project is bigger and because the stakes are higher and because a lot of actors are involved. And that is why the Panama paper was able to pull 86 journalists from these 46 countries that work on the project. So again, the big issue is that when the project is bigger than you might want to what? Get possible collaborators. That's a fundamental strategy decision that you have to think about. So the second thing I want to quickly talk about is build the partnership as reciprocal, never as what? Charity. And here, I want to warn our younger journalists to pay attention very seriously on this, because some of you might have seen it happen to other senior journalists and senior reporters, especially in our own kind of context. So if a journalist outside Nigeria is coming to you for collaboration, they want to work with you to do a Nigeria version of, say, the Panama Papers, you need to know from the get-go that, look, these guys are reaching out to me because they understood that I am needed in this project. So if they need my time, if they need my expertise, if they need my understanding of the local context, then I am not coming as a beggar. I am not coming to do charity. I am coming to partner on a very serious project that may have consequences beyond its lifespan, right? It's beyond just publishing. When you publish, consequences may follow. And that is why you might want to be very deliberate from the get-go to say that, look, we have to negotiate my position as far as this project is concerned. It has to be clearly in black and white. I mean, Motorayo was right to say that some of these collaborations must not necessarily carry any formal, MOU. I agree with her totally on that. But even if there is no MOU, it shouldn't stop you from clearly asking or negotiating your own position as far as that project is concerned, because you are not a beggar and you are not doing charity. So it shouldn't be that, oh, you are just here to fix things around to hold their back, and then that will put you to, negotiate from a very weak standpoint. You shouldn't do that. And here I must, to be frank with you, commend CCIJ, because CCIJ stands for Center for Collaborative Investigative Journalism. It's a platform based in the US, but that is doing a whole lot of project in Africa. I must commend the CCIJ because the CCIJ has a very unique way of collaborating with local journalists in Africa. From the get-go, they spell everything in black and white, and compensations runs equally. It doesn't matter whether the journalist is from the US, from South Africa, everybody gets paid the same way. And I'm not saying it must happen that way all the time. Of course, expertise differ. I mean, we are different individuals. Sometimes we come to the table with specific things we would want to offer, and compensation may not necessarily go in that perspective. Some people may do the heavy lifting, and there is nothing absolutely wrong when they ask for bigger compensation. But I'm just saying that within what you are able to offer on the table, you must be compensated commensurately in an appreciable way. And one of the ways to make that happen is to what? Build a reciprocal partnership that defies, just showing up as if you are doing charity. So the next thing I would want to talk about, which is the third decision people might want to really ponder on, is that in every collaboration, there has to be a team leader. This is very, very important. If you fail to appoint a team leader, I am telling you, people will do things at the time they feel they should do it. And that may not allow you to manage the project effectively and be able to deliver it on time. And here, if you're appointing a team leader, the team leader must not necessarily be the most knowledgeable person in the team. It could be an agreement between you to say that, okay, we're going to appoint so person to lead us in the hope that they will provide effective leadership that will enable you to collectively coordinate a chain of activities, because I assume at the end of the day, you guys are going to divide tasks. It will be clearly spelled out that A is doing Z and B is doing Y, for instance. So for that to happen, somebody has to play the coordination role. And I remember when we did the democracy deferred project for the CCIG, Nelly Kalu, coordinated the entire teams that were actually split into, I think 5, if I could recall very well. I led one of the teams. But all these individual teams were collectively led by Nelly Kalu. So in other words, there is a clear chain of communication. There is distinguishable division of labor. Everybody understood what they needed to do as far as that collaboration is concerned. So it's very, very important you do this at the strategy stage. Because if you fail to clearly spell that out, I'm telling you, you may experience difficulties, fights here and there that may metastasize into something you may find very difficult to handle. So the fourth thing I would recommend, again, let me reiterate here that these decision strategies I'm mentioning are not necessarily exhaustive. I just felt that I should share them based on my own, experience running Wikitimes and also mentoring journalists to do collaboration. So the fourth thing you might want to really pay attention to is engineer distributed publication as protection by design, which is very, very important. And I can give you several examples with my own context, right? We have 9 lawsuits, like I mentioned. Some of these 9 lawsuits are taking a whole toll on us. They drain our energy, they suck our resources, and you should know at the get-go that these actors that sue platforms like ours are not necessarily suing us because they want to win, because they understood that the legal architecture could be used to drain newsrooms. I've written a whole research paper on SLAP. And for those of you that are hearing the word for the first time, SLAP means strategic lawsuit against public participation. There are litigations that are brought on the doorstep of newsrooms and civic actors to drain them, to make them bleed in providing resources to defend themselves, because these actors know that when they sue you, you require a lot of resources to defend yourself. You have to hire lawyers and pay them. And sometimes you have to travel you have to cover a lot of distance to go and attend court sittings. And that takes the time you would naturally deploy to do journalism. Imagine your editor, your office is in Bauchi. In our own case, for example, we have some of our lawsuits in Kano. So what it technically means is that we have to travel to Kano to attend court sittings. We have to go to Yola to attend court sittings. And that time, it's a lot of resources that is being taken away from a small newsroom. So when your editor sits in court, which time do they have again to edit stories? When you have to hire lawyers and pay them handsomely to represent you in court, which resources do you again have as a small newsroom to pay your own staff, to bankroll them to go and do journalism? So they know that these kind of litigations are expensive, are costly, and that is why they are bringing them to our doorstep. So one of the ways to actually reduce the impact of this kind of lawsuit is to collaborate. When you collaborate, you are going to share these risks across. So if they sue Wikitimes, they are also suing ICIR, or they are suing Premium Times, or they are taking the cable to court, because all these platforms collectively publish that story. And you know, it will be very, very difficult for them if at the end of the day they succeed on bringing Wikitimes down, to bring all the other platforms down. It's highly unlikely. So whenever you are thinking about collaboration, you should also know from the get-go that I am also collaborating because at the end of the day, what I'm doing is risky. What I'm doing is going to attract some heavy toll on me and my newsroom. And therefore, I might want to share the risks so that when this backlash comes, you have orders to protect you. You have orders to put resources together in your defense. And to be honest with you here, I must commend WSCIJ very seriously, because sometimes when we face this kind of lawsuit, they snowball us to places where we get help, we get resources. And an example of those places, for example, is the Media Defense in the UK, Media Foundation for West Africa, for instance, a whole lot of other global bodies that have come to our aid as a platform. So how are we able, for example, to access this kind of resources? We are able to do that because we are also collaborating with WSAG and a whole lot of other platforms within and outside Nigeria. So you could see how, for example, this kind of things can help you actually get protection by design when the publication is distributed across this platform. So the fifth thing I want to quickly mention before I move to the second layer of my presentation is sign the pre-publication agreement before you report. Again here, Motunrayo said it's not necessary, absolutely, but sometimes it is. The agreement is part of the design, not necessarily paperwork after it. And why sometimes I insist that reporters or newsrooms or platforms sign agreement, it will help you really clearly and unequivocally define who does what. So from the get-go, you know where your boundary is. And understanding your boundary is also part of mitigating challenges when they come up, because I can assure you, challenges may come up when collaborations are happening. People are going to say, oh, somebody is not doing what they are supposed to do. You can always refer back to what was already signed between the parties to say, from the get-go, these are my responsibilities in this collaboration. These are the things I'm expected to bring to the table. And I think I am still within the context of what I'm expected to bring to the table. And here I must refer you to the ProPublica Collaborative Data Guidance for a very interesting ideas on how platforms could, do this effectively. The Global Investigative Journalism Network and IJNet is also important resource platform that you could see how journalists are making this stuff happen. So you might want to refer to them to read some fantastic ideas about how journalists are collaborating and all of that. And one of the key things I want you to take away as far as the strategy is concerned is that a deliberately designed collaboration is the only model that let a small threatened newsroom like Wikitimes to investigate power it cannot afford to investigate alone, because I can tell you it is very, very difficult to survive publishing hard-hitting stories that are stepping on the toes of big people. The 9 lawsuits I just made reference to would have been impossible for us to handle without collaboration. So collaboration here is key. It provides sometimes the cover, it enables you to hold power to account, it enables you to share a lot of resources you would otherwise wouldn't have access to if you are unable or did not collaborate with platforms who have those kind of resources. So the second layer, which is about execution, I want to say here that at the execution stage, a good design still breaks at predictable points rather. Knowing where lets you hold together very, very well, because it's very, very important. So always know that things are likely to happen, disagreement is likely to set in, but here you also have to be deliberate. And I have mentioned some predictable failures and how you could fix them that are very evident in some of the collaborations I have done. One of them is, of course, divergent schedules. If you are collaborating with people that are outside your time zone, know that you are likely to clash on schedules. When do we meet? Oh, let's meet 8 a.m. 8 a.m. maybe 1 a.m. Or perhaps 12 a.m. in somebody's world. So you have to know that it may resort to conflict if you didn't carefully handle it. So, and that is why, again, having a team lead is very, very important. The team lead can always coordinate this. One of the other breaking point is premature publication. Let's say 10 newsrooms are collaborating on a project, and then the story is completed, is well edited, you want to publish, and then the initial idea was that let's publish on the same day. And then all of a sudden, before that deadline comes, somebody rushed to publication because they want to be the first to do that. That may result to conflict. So you might want to be very deliberate here again. And that is why from the get-go, you have to have a team lead. Everything should be in black and white. Everybody should know where and what they need to do at what time. And then you can collectively coordinate them together. So if the team lead places an embargo to say, we will publish tomorrow 5 a.m. Nigerian time, all the other newsrooms that are in different places, regardless of the time zone, might have figured out that, okay, this is when we are supposed to publish in our own respective time zone. And collectively, you could do that. So I can tell you, I have seen this kind of conflict break collaborations in a way that was really very difficult to handle. And another, predictable failure many a times that we see, especially when you speak to experienced reporters and journalists, they tell you that legal review is always a friction. Some newsroom will say, oh, this story is not in conformity with our own legal policy, and our lawyers are saying we shouldn't publish it. So instead of you to be exchanging lengthy emails and all of that, the team lead may coordinate a meeting between all the newsroom and resolve it as quickly as possible, right? So the other point, which is the last four predictable failures and how we can fix it, is what? Loss of focus. Sometimes if you don't have a team lead, you will lose focus. So the team lead here again is very, very important, right? The team lead can help you always go back to the drawing board, always refer back to the initial agreement and tell you that, look, this is what we agreed to do ab initio. So can we be consistent? Can we go back to the drawing board and do what we agreed to do initially? Very, very important. So, so the other thing I want to talk about as far as execution is concerned is to say that execution will help you to actually figure out modus operandi that are related to how you are going to protect the entire project. And then when you are tested under fire, these are some of the things that will help you navigate those storms. And I can tell you from my own experience as a publisher of WikiTimes that one of the things that actually help us to get protection is to have legal shield around what we do. The 9 lawsuit, for example, we figured out initially that on our own, we don't have what it takes to finance lawyers to represent us across this lawsuit. So what do we need to do? We need to have a legal shield. Legal shield are every avenue we are able to get hold on that will be able to either help us pay lawyers, either help us define a strategy that will mount a pushback, or be able to refer us to people that matter when we are confronted with lawsuit. So it's very, very important. And then cross-publishing is another protection layer that is going to help you. I've mentioned this very briefly. When you cross-publish, you share the risks. Very important. And then data safety and advocacy. There is a platform that WikiTimes is partnering with called Forbidden Stories. So what is Forbidden Stories doing in our own world as a small newsroom? I always mention this to journalists that know that the information you are collecting in the field, those pictures you are taking, the files you are getting that are very sensitive, are important data that you need to tell those important stories. So they are important assets. And because they are important assets, your aggressors know that when they get hold of you, they are going to confiscate those assets. They are going to destroy them. They may seize that phone, and when they seize that phone, they will destroy the pictures, they will destroy all the files they sent into that phone. And then you don't have data, you don't have evidence to work with anymore because they are able to get hold of you and grasp those gadgets and destroy them. So how do you ensure that that didn't happen? One of our strategies at WikiTimes is to say that, look, we have to have a means of transmitting that information as we collect it. Very important. So when our reporters are on the field, they will send those important information to a platform called SafeBox Network that is instituted by Forbidden Stories. Forbidden Stories is a Paris-based organization. So it will allow you to either use Signal or secure Dropbox to quickly send those pictures or those evidences you are collecting in the field. And doing so will enable you to save that important information. And even when they arrest you or prevent you from publishing that story, because you have that collaboration with that outlet, they will take it up and continue the investigation, even if you are jailed or stopped from publishing that story. So that's one layer of protection. Another layer is that they will also step up in terms of advocacy. They may issue a public statement to say, oh, you've arrested a WikiTimes reporter, but then we know what they are doing. We have all their sensitive information. If you prevent them from publishing, we will step it up and publish the story. So it's always very, very important. So let me quickly move to impact. Nuruddin, how much time do I have left? Hello, guys. It's like I'm speaking to myself.
No, we are hearing you.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay.
Right. So you have a minute left, Mr. Aruna. A minute.
Okay, so let me quickly talk about impact, right? Very, very important. So a great story, no one really changes nothing. That's my central argument here. So how do you ensure that your story makes impact? you have to defy being a solo reporter or a solo outlet that will publish an important story. Get as many platforms to partner with, get as many platforms to collaborate with, because when you publish or coordinate with others, you will likely amplify whatever you are publishing, and then you will hold the accountability threshold will raise because you have more voices talking about the same scandal, talking about the same story, and that is really very important. So measure it, log it, feed it back into protection. Name the target, ensure that you have record or documented everything. The instrument for it is also important, and then fit it back into the system, because one of the things about collaboration is that we learn lessons when you collaborate with more experienced reporters who have done this for ages. You are likely to learn a lot and walk away with not only a very good story, a very good byline that is published across platforms, but also walk home with knowledge. And that is why here I always encourage our young reporters to say, look, sometimes you guys rush a lot. You want to have it all to yourself, when the reality is that you don't have the capacity, you don't have the commensurate expertise to handle it yourself. So slow down, work with others who are more experienced in the field. Even if you are the initial initiator of the story idea, even if it's your newsroom that came up with that idea, collaboration will enable you to have access to resources you would otherwise not have if you don't collaborate. So I will conclude by saying that a deliberately designed collaboration is the only model that lets a small, threatened Nigerian newsroom like WikiTimes investigate power it cannot afford to investigate alone, surviving publishing it and convert it into what accountability that holds power to account. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Aruna Mohammed. Thank you so much for this, insightful session. Yeah, from my time here, you're just able to use additional 2 minutes, which is more commendable as well. Thank you so much for this. Yeah, thank you so much for this engagement, and practical session. So now we have to open the floor for questions, in the chat box. Please, a quick reminder, please let us be aware that the attendance link is very, very important. Let us fill it. And I have to let you know that it's for only those that have filled the attendance that we get, the training kit. If you have not filled the attendance, I'm not sure you will get that. So let's do that, as soon as possible. And the link will be shared on the chat box. So let's do that as soon as possible. So let us have our question. Let us have our question in the chat box. It is very, very important, for clarification, what you think, Mr. Aruna can also, explain further and all sorts. It is very, very important. A lot has been said, right, about the strategy, the execution, and all that. So I want to believe that we are also taking this into consideration, and we can able to, practicalize all those things, that we've heard from Mr. Aruna and also from Motrayo as well. So let's have our question in the chat box. Okay, you already raised your hand. Let us have.
Hello, am I audible? Can everyone hear me, please?
Yes. I think
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. We're having a bit of connectivity issues on our end. Nuruddin dropped out of the meeting unexpectedly. So let's just move straight into the question and answer session. I can see that some of us, good afternoon. My name is Mariam Alo. I'm Program Officer at WSCIJ. And let me just take over from Nuruddin until he can jump back in. I can see some of us have our hands up, so I'll just call on us and you can unmute yourself and then ask your question. Let me start with Aliyu, Rabi Aliyu. Please unmute your mic and ask your question, sir. Mr. Aliyu, you are still muted. Can you unmute yourself and then ask your question?
Yeah, hearing me now, ba? Thank you for this wonderful presentation from Mala Haruna Mohammed.
So I can't hear anything from your end again. I don't know whether it's from me or.
No, I'm hearing you.
You can hear him now.
Okay, so okay. Thank you for this wonderful presentation, Mr. Mala Haruna and the Motenyi Rayo. My own is just sometimes this investigative reporting from maybe like your media, wiki, media, this Premium Times and so on. Sometimes they have their own privilege and the capacity to do this investigative reporting. But sometimes those journalists that are working under some media, because last time I visited one of my friends in one of the media, he's in the finance department. There are some grudges between the finance department and the newsroom. The newsroom, they are trying to adopt the issue of investigative reporting, going deeper in some state government and so on. But at the same time, the same media platform, they have collaboration with this state government. They are buying front page. They are even collaboration and partnership. So I don't know how can these media can manage to do some scatter reporting like the one that you are doing. Especially even you now, you are still in the court for many issues, and I don't know how can you survive it, talking less of those who are working in some print media. So I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I think it's really a very important question. And to be frank with you, I get asked a lot by many journalists in Bauchi about this question that, look, we can't do this story because our outlet will not publish it. We can't chase this terrible actor because they are the one paying the bills as far as my newsroom is concerned. So holding them to account, it's just very difficult. And my response to that is, and by the way, you have to pay attention to your own context. Don't just take my word for it because it may backfire. Because if you go ahead to collaborate with other outlets when your newsroom is paying your salary, they will say, okay, since you are a strong-headed individual, they will kick you out. And that's why you have to navigate it carefully. So my advice to them most of the time is, I would say, go and speak to your editor. Ask them genuinely. Tell them, Oga, please, I want to do this story, but I understand that I have constraint, and this constraint stretches beyond what we can handle as a newsroom. I know if we go ahead and publish this investigation, the government will stop paying our bills, and by extension, that may even affect our operations. But I still want to go ahead and do this story. Do you want me to go get other outlets that will partner with me and get this story out? If your editor agrees, and if they are the one, I mean, they don't determine your salary, you can go ahead and partner with other platforms that are willing to do it. We've had this kind of examples at Wikitimes where reporters of radio stations will come to us and say, oh, this story is not going to be published by social platform because it's a government platform, but I still want to go ahead and do it. I say, okay, come bring it to us. We will take it. And even in our own context, sometimes some stories are too big for us to handle, I must tell you. We reach out to bigger platform and say, please, this story, can you guys do it? There are stories we've done in Bauchi, in collaboration with other platforms that many didn't even know we were behind those stories, for example. Because at that material time, the challenges or the risks will not allow us to go ahead as an outlet or as individual reporters to go ahead and do those stories. But our interest is that we want those stories to be done. We want to hold those guys accountable. So reach out, get platforms that have the capacity to do it, get newsrooms that are willing to publish. And again, I will go back to what I've said earlier. If your goal ab initio is to hold power to account and make your society better, don't say because I I'm unable to do this story, or I don't have the capacity to do it, or my newsroom is not willing to publish it, therefore let me allow it there. You are doing a disservice to your community, to our society as a whole. So please don't do that. I hope I have answered your question.
Yeah, all right. Can we have Francis?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good afternoon. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Aruna, for that excellent presentation. My concern here is the issue of having access to accurate data in terms of investigative report, especially when you're looking for documents to support your report. For instance, here in Katina, I was investigating a water project that has been abandoned for years to manage local government. Over 3 years now, I've written to government to get documents for that contract. But up to now, there's no any information given to me on that. But under the Freedom of Information Law, we have the power to request for any document or any information from the government. But that up to now, there's not, I've written to them, there's not replied on that. So my question is that, is there anything as an investigative reporter or journalist we can adopt, or any method we can adopt to get documents, data, anything we're investigating?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Sardauna. So sometimes I tell journalists that some of the data we are looking for is actually available on the internet. And that is why open source intelligence is important here. Motunrayo mentioned that. So, and it baffles me a lot. Sometimes when you mention open source intelligence, people think, oh, this is something very serious. No, open source intelligence information is just that information that is readily available, that is online, that you can use certain tools to harvest and make sense of. I did a presentation a couple of days on open source intelligence. I have a lot of resources on that. I don't mind sharing with WSCIJ. If they have your contacts, they can mail it to you. So go online, use open source tools, and harvest those information. Sometimes you may be looking for budget document. Some of these budget documents are online. Sometimes you may be looking for transactions, government transactions that is paid into contractors. Many of these payments are online. If you check the Open Treasury portal, for example, you could find a lot of payments done by government to a lot of contractors that you may use to hold power to account. Our state governments, many of them have websites. They publish audit report, they publish budget document. I did 2 series of investigation called the ghost vouchers of Bauchi State sometimes recently. And guess what? Every information that was useful for that investigation was on the website of Bauchi State government. Many didn't pay attention to it. I just downloaded the whole Accountant General's audit report and found out how a lot of government agencies were collaborating. I think I can check and share the link on the chat box if you don't mind. So I am just saying that a lot of the information we may be looking for are actually online. So all you need to do is to go online, use certain open source intelligence information, harvest this information, and you can use AI to actually analyze some of this information within a very short period of time. Okay, I just shared the link on the chat box. It's a 2-part series. You can read the first and the second part. If you open the first series, you may see the link to the second series. So go online, get this information. Many a times we chase these government officials for data that is already available online. So my first advice is go online, ensure you've done your own homework, use all the available tools at your disposal, use artificial intelligence where necessary. And I am happy to give some of you access to some premium AI tools that I have that may help you collect data. You can use them to analyze data within a short period of time. But like Motunrayo warned, you have to be careful because AI can kill, it can destroy you, it can finish you in a day because it's likely to hallucinate and give you something that is factually incorrect. It can offer some nice bullshit that can land you into trouble. So always verify. And that is why it's always our business to verify as journalists. If we can verify and sift out what is factual from what is not true, then we are doing a disservice to ourselves and to the society, because society holds us to a high esteem and we shouldn't squander that integrity. So, and I am happy to assist you on something specific you may be working on. You can reach out to me and tell me the specific data you are looking for. I can help you, refer you to where you can easily get it.
All right, Mr. Haruna, thank you so much. So we have 4 more questions that are raising up their hand, but please help us to make it as, within 30 seconds, ask your question and let us, because we still have a breakout session. Just in 30 seconds, Mr. Talub Amoli, if I'm right, please go ahead with your question. In 30 seconds, just go
Can
straight
I
to 30
address
seconds.
one question on the chat box? Alex from Ghana was asking me what happens when courts injunctions are deliberately used to stop investigation. We have experience like that. Let me, sorry, hold on a minute. Let me respond to this question from Ghana. So he is asking what happens when an actor rushes to court to get a court injunction to stop journalists from publishing. My advice to you is understand your own laws in your own country. I don't know what the laws in Ghana say about that. Consult with your lawyer and see navigable pathways that will allow you to either continue or maybe challenge it. And that is why here collaboration also is very, very important. Again, I will refer you to Media Foundation for West Africa. I have good friends there. When I was in Ghana, I appreciated the enormous work those guys are doing. So reach out to Media Foundation for West Africa. You can reach out to Tiger Eye. You can reach out to Emmanuel Dogbevi, who has done some really fascinating work in Ghana and who is able to also navigate this kind of challenge. I remember he was sharing me his experience in Malaysia, where he mentioned that sometimes these guys go to court to get court injunction and stop publication. So just know what the law says in Ghana, understand your specific context, consult with your lawyers, reach out to more experienced journalists and bigger organizations. I'm pretty sure they will help you address that challenge. That would be my recommendation for you, Alex from Ghana. Yes, go ahead, please. Somebody was already talking.
Yeah. Talub Amoli, if I'm right, please, 30 seconds, your question. Hello, are you there? Okay. Elizabeth Vincent, please, you have the floor. 30 seconds.
My question is that, is there any, at the point in time of your work experience, that you weigh the cost and benefit of reporting a particular investigation and you see that the cost is higher than the benefit and you drop it? Thank you.
It's a sad reality we face almost on a daily basis, right? And that is why, again, collaboration is important. So if you aware that the cost is going to be more devastating than the benefit, you have to think twice and consult your lawyers, consult whoever that is around in your community. We always have a constituency to fall back on, right? This journalism constituency is big, I tell you. If you reach out, you will always get solution to your immediate problem. So when the cost in your realization outweighs the benefit, reach out. Touch base with bigger entities, with more experienced journalists, with bigger organizations who have the financial muscle to take it up, and they will come to your aid in many ways, right? That would just be my recommendation to you. Again, get in touch with your lawyers, very, very important. And that is why here I will recommend that even before you publish, you have to, guys, we have to internalize this. When reality keeps telling us that, look, we can't continue to survive like this, we have to get lawyer to review our story these days before we publish. They will help us point to the legal loopholes that may be a fatal consequences on the platform. And they sometimes advise also we either go get more evidence that are admissible in court, which is very, very important. Please always ask your lawyer, which evidence do you think in this story would be admissible in court in the event these actors challenge my reporting? Because they would always come back to you. And know that what you define as evidence as a journalist may not necessarily be evidence in court. So you might want to collect evidence that are admissible in court, and your lawyers can help you handle that. There is a question on the chat box. Somebody is asking me how can one achieve successful investigative collaboration among journalists that are secretly on the government payroll? I don't know if somebody is on the government payroll. I don't know how you will collaborate with those kind of journalists, because I can tell you from my experience in Bauchi, it's always very difficult. They will report you. They will always collaborate with government officials to deal with you, because some of them see you as a threat. You are a threat to their qua, or you are a threat to their what do they call qua in Ghana? I'm trying to recall. Oh my goodness, how would I forget the name of qua in Ghana? They are a threat. You are a threat to their brown envelopes, right? So always know that if you are collaborating with journalists that are on government payroll, and I'm not saying all of them are bad, there are very, very good ones among them that are genuinely interested in holding power to account. So know your own sphere of influence, understand the context, know these journalists, and be careful, because they will sell you out. Somebody is saying, sir, how can I overcome the fear of facing litigation and that may arise from my report, because most times my skeptical of writing stories against some corrupt individual, or even, well, you see, we have our own individual ways of handling these kind of things, right? I tell journalists all the time that journalism is not for the faint-hearted reporters. You have to be very courageous, and you have to be ready to take the bull by the horn to do this very dangerous work. So please, if you are the type that freak when police invite you, you might want to really think twice. And I'm not saying get out of the space. No, but you can grow over time. You can learn from journalists. You can share experiences with them. They will help you to navigate these kind of fears. And that is where collaboration is also important. If you are afraid that you may get arrested on the field doing a particular story, maybe you should go in team, and that team may be the people you are collaborating with, or you get somebody to help you collect data. There is no one way approach to handle this kind of situations, really. It depends on the context and your own particular context. Nuruddin,
All right,
Mr.
All right, thank you. So we have one person left that is raising up his hand, Suleiman Ibrahim, in 30 seconds. So that will be the last question for this session, because we have a breakout session. Yeah. In 30 seconds, Suleiman Ibrahim.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for this important training. Yes, I want to talk. You have answered some part of that, some part of my question. You want to collaborate with the media house, and within the media house, sometimes you discover that you have some government agents among the journalists around that media house. I have tried doing something, and at the middle of the night they will call you to threaten you that yes, we know you are doing this, we know you are doing that, this is what you're doing, you should step it down, or else, this kind of threat. So how do you maneuver this? And again, secondly, I want to add to what he has just said last, that you are invited by the police. Sometimes if you are invited by the police and you discover that you cannot stand alone, you go with the team. I have done that, and it has also helped me. So I want you to answer that to me.
Okay, thank you. Again, there is no one way to deal with this kind of situation. It depends on the context and what is happening at the material time. So, but my recommendation would be know the people you are collaborating with. If you are doubting somebody's credibility ab initio, don't even bring them to your project in the first place, because certainly they will compromise you. And you see, all of us have a history. We should remember this. If you are collaborating with somebody you have little knowledge about, you might want to do a background check about their credibility, about what they stand for in life and all of that. Because guys, we are not driven by the same philosophy. If your philosophy is to hold power to account to make your systems better, that may not be somebody's philosophy, even if he's a journalist like you. Always know this. So please, know who you are working with, understand their philosophies in life, understand what motivates them to do this kind of work. I think it will, to a large extent, help you figure out the right person to collaborate with, and that will, stymie the challenges that may erupt, or at least defray them to a large extent. That would be my recommendation. Again, there is no one-way approach to solve this kind of problem. It depends on your own context and what is happening at that material time.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Aruna, for this insightful session. And I have to say this again, that please, if you have not filled your attendance, in the chat box, please do that as soon as possible. It is very, very important. And we have also shared our social media link as well. You can follow us for more updates on what we are doing and how you can also be a beneficiary to these, trainings and other things, we are doing at the center. It is very, very important. Now we'll be going to the breakout session. Yeah, so we'll be having the two groups, right? Because from the two sessions that we've had now, we have to, test the knowledge that we've, acquired, and how we can put this into practical, aspect of it. So not just about the, training. We also want something that will be able for us to know that truly you're able to understand what you have been taught so far, and how you can implement this in. That's why I say it's from ideation to strategy, then to what to impact. They'll be having the breakout session now. So it's going to be two groups. So into two groups. So you find yourself in one and try to discuss with your team members on how you can brainstorm and get what you have to do. Because at the end of the day, you come back to the general platform, the general group here, and you go back to the general group here and present your findings and what you guys agreed on, for us to able to have access to that. And also we have two facilitators who also give their comment and their remark on that. Yeah. So that is very, very important. And also shortly we'll be sending you the post training survey for you to also fill that as well. Yeah. Can that person is our mic? All right, yeah. Thank you so much. So for the breakout session, I'm very sure that we're able to discuss one or two things, right? We have the group 1 and group 2. Can we have the group 1? Hello? Hello?
Hello, Mr. Nuruddin.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We're actually stuck here, all of us asking questions, no clear instruction on what to do or the specific things to deliberate on. So we were actually waiting. We were just stuck somehow. So there was no discussion going on in this group. We just found ourselves here.
Okay, sorry. Grace, were you able to join one of the groups?
We were not. All of us that were left here, none of us, we kept, as you can go to the chat and find out the questions.
Because ideally we have two groups, so we should be able to group people into that two groups. Yeah, so because we have some people in group 1 and some people in group 2, so ideally we should be able to have that two groups to contain all participants, so that they can be able to deliberate and discuss whatever you want to discuss in that particular group. So,
okay, sorry, Mr. Anuli, can I say something? Okay,
all right. So can we have group one to discuss what they discussed in their platform, this case study, and how they want to use the collaborative models and all sorts?
All right. Good afternoon, Nuruddin, once again. Just like the sister just explained, some of us in our group, I don't know whether we are group one or group two, we're kind of stuck at the initial stage, but towards the end, we try to find out what we can deliberate upon. But as a matter of fact, the time frame was gone. So we did not deliberate much, but at least we have something to present, and which other group members can say something as well, just to support what we can do. So based on the insights we had from our presenters, our resource person, so talking about collaborative investigation, the first point, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Sorry, are you in group one?
That is what I said. I don't know whether I'm in group one or in group two.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Anyone in my group that helped me when we were trying to say what we can do can just support my point maybe at the end of the first presentation. So we intend to look at a story idea that focuses on impact of climate change.
All right,
so
sorry.
For instance,
so that is group one. That is group one. You can go ahead.
Okay. So impact of climate change on female farmers in the Niger Delta region. We know we don't want to say in Nigeria so that we will not make it so broad. So our focus will be in the Niger Delta region. So looking at the value of these reports, we know there's a lot of environmental pollution in the area. And as well, there's a lot of climate change shock, which has affected many things like farming activities, productivity, and the well-being of people in that region. So if we tell this story, it will bring to the attention of the policymakers and the people to really understand exactly what people in that area are passing through. And that might influence the policy decision around the sector. And as a matter of fact, actions can be taken, which will as well help the livelihood of people around there. So in terms of collaboration, we intend to collaborate with different media platforms, not only media platform, also with civil society organization in terms of data acquisition, in terms of people in that region that have done a lot of work around that sector, and not only those ones, even the fixers, the community people. So our collaboration will work around that. We know that we have capacity as a media platform to write and to report, but we may not have the strength to do a lot of multimedia work that will tell the story clearly. So we intend to collaborate with a platform that has that capacity. And we also intend to collaborate with a platform that has capacity around data. And we believe that if we do that, we will be able to tell the story clearly and as well bring policy makers attention into that situation. So we move into, I'm just summarizing, we move into the execution plan. How do we intend to execute this plan? We may call it a treatment plan. So we intend to sponsor some of us to the Niger Delta region. At least we have some states there to go to those states, speak with the people around it, with the farmers. Remember, we are looking at how this thing impacts farmers and food production. Speak with farmers, speak with experts, people working in that value chain. Then speak with community leaders. Then get back to the other stakeholders, like I mentioned, other platforms that we intend to work with. Get the available data, the data that can help us very well with us. Data that can help us very well to report this story effectively.
All right. Because of time is fast spent, right? So can we have the second group?
Okay, sorry. Before we end there, since we are group one, I want someone from my group to maybe just within 1 minute to just add up to what I just said. So it wouldn't be as if it's a one-man group presentation. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, in just 60 seconds. Thank you.
Hello?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, I believe I'm in gentleman's group. I think another thing we consider is holding the oil companies because we are looking at both climate and environmental impacts. So we're also considering holding the multinational corporations in the region, holding them to account for some of the work that's supposed to be some environmental that they are failed to do. Some of these farmers are now bearing the brunt. Although we also consider some challenges, especially in competition, considering that some of these companies have interests. Yeah, they have influence on various media houses. Yeah. I think my 60 seconds is over.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, so yeah, can we have the second group, please? Let's do that in 3 minutes.
Okay, sir.
Hello.
Okay. Okay. Nuruddin, can I speak for the second group? And I think,
please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, so maybe someone will also collaborate. The suggestion of a storyline is on what Muturayo shared it earlier on, which was on Let There Be Light. So our focus, our focus suggestion is on the possible angles as partly on abandoned power projects. We're looking at those areas, abandoned power projects, and perhaps rural electrification projects that have failed. And we also suggested not to look at the entire nation. We narrowed it down to 3 states, Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt, so we can perhaps have impactful coverage. So, and like I said, we're looking at power projects that have failed. Please, can we mute ourselves? Okay. So we're also looking at the economic impact of the failure of such power projects. Then, if by the time we go to the collaboration models, So one of the first things we want to do is to get a coordinator for this project. Perhaps name one of us to be the lead, the coordinator, and that is to help us coordinate the contributions of each of the newsrooms. So part of that coordination also, aside from the lead coordinator, will also have a data and research team. So we will break down our teams into those segments. So there should be also somebody to coordinate the data and research team. We also have some reporters from some of our newsrooms, perhaps maybe also have a multimedia. So that will also help with the impact when we are making our report. So the execution plan, we do a research on that topic, let there be light. We intend to make contact with NERC, the Rural Electrification Agency, to track, like I said, the failed projects. We also look at the budget and procurement for portals, Ministry of Power, and perhaps World Bank loans or intervention schemes that have direct impact on or direct impact on those projects that we are going to list out. Now, there is going to be a field investigation, maybe get to the communities that perhaps have failed project, like I said, conduct interviews and all of that, gather data from the ministries, agencies, and perhaps look at budget interventions, look at contracts that were given out and monies that were given. So we're trying to track all of that. Then when we get to the publication strategy, we think that since it's going to be a documentation, an investigation, we're going to document those interviews perhaps into a series, not a single story. So it's going to be a series, and that series is going to be a digital presentation. We have storytelling that will have to do with multimedia productions. And we are going to also make sure that each of the newsrooms, we have a publication strategy, perhaps simultaneous publication, and so on and so forth.
All right. Can you summarize? I think another maybe your group member want to say something in 60 seconds so that we can able to move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would suggest a group member will go ahead with perhaps maybe the risk mitigation and all of that.
Yes, in the contribution, we plan to execute. We have a timeline for execution, which is about 20 weeks, because it will give us ample time to visit the states concerned, and we are going to be having some kind of a phase for field reporting, say 7 to 12 weeks. And for deliverables, we are going to have raw, interviews, drone footages, photo and video evidences. And we're going to also have production and editing of within 16 to 18 weeks in the whole, within the 20 weeks period. At the end of the day, we will publish simultaneously. We will agree on when to, publish. The whole newsrooms will publish at the same time. And we are also going to have a possible litigation coming from maybe the discos and some of the people involved that will not want us to publish. I might not be able to mention them now, but at least we have plan. We expect litigations. Yeah. So maybe another person can take over.
All right. Thank you so much for the two groups. Now, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. So we have Moturayo on board so that she can help us to give a feedback to this collaborative investigation plan. so that we can able to know where we, cut short and where we can do going forward in terms of where we can do better in terms of the collaboration and all sorts. So can we have Motumayo now?
Okay. Good day again, everybody. I'm not going to go over each of the groups. Thank you for the attempts that you have made. You will find that I think that in terms of being specific, you've all tried to be specific, although Niger Delta area is quite huge. The investigation that I alluded to that I did on the Niger Delta area, if, for instance, you're going to do a Niger Delta area investigation, for instance, my suggestion would be that you plan it to be a series, maybe 6 publications at the end of the day or 5 at the end of the day. You pick maybe each of the states in the Niger Delta, pick an issue, because even if you are talking about a specific issue that has to do with a region, there will be peculiarities from area to area. And you don't want to report that as something generic. Otherwise, again, who will be accountable? When you're talking about the Niger Delta region, there is no governor of the Niger Delta region. There are governors of each state. So except you report, if we're reporting electricity is on the concurrent list. Basically, it is only recently that the laws have given powers to, states and other bodies to generate power. But the regulator for electricity is still NEC. It's still NEC, and NEC is a federal body, so it's still on the concurrent list. So you can put that there are clear people to say are responsible. If you're talking about a gas turbine that was commissioned, there are clear people that are responsible, and you're dealing with a specific state. But if you're dealing with a project in the Niger Delta, that is broad. Nigeria has a federal system of government. There's a federal government and there are states. So the Niger Delta is composed of states. So if you want to execute that kind of project, my strong recommendation will be you break them down into the states and then you serialize them. So the overarching topic will be that you're talking about the Niger Delta development area, because they have extra allocation to do better and to further invest in the people, because the country understands that it is drawing resources from that region. And so the country has given 13% to that region to develop it, yet the region is underdeveloped. So you have a strong point in putting them together. But I'm just saying in terms of execution and holding powers responsible. Otherwise, you'll be talking about the Niger Delta Commission, and the people do not vote for anybody in the Niger Delta Development Commission. The people vote for their governors. So you have to decongest that in such a way that you'll be able to hold powers accountable. If it's the chairperson of the commission, if it's the governors, you'll be able to break it down. So it's going to be, that one is going to be really large as an investigation. So you should plan to serialize it. Some of you that are on this call, you might decide to reach out to one another and exchange details if you want to carry these investigations forward, because they are very viable work. And sometimes what you need are people already in those fields, not necessarily a huge budget to execute it. All of you are in different parts. The person who gave the electricity project was talking about our state. So that will be my main, like I said, I don't want to hold us up for longer. We plan to finish this 34 minutes ago. So that will be my main comment. And that comment goes back to the fact that you have to do the hard work for any collaboration. I always say you have to do the heavy lifting for any collaborative project that you want to do. You have to do serious research. You have to be able to break it down into ways that people can understand and can uptake, so that, and you have to plan, when will we publish? If there's a radio media organization with you, can you turn part of it to discussion? Can you, after you have told the initial news? Those are other things in collaboration. Rush model says that a story can first come out as a print publication. We might turn it to a radio presentation. We might turn it to a discussion. We might turn it later to even, you can give entertainment people to think about it, because basically what we want to achieve is that there must be civic education and civic engagement so that our people can hold their leaders accountable. So that's the comment I'll make. I'll say read both slides again and try to practicalize some of the steps that myself and Aruna have clearly stated in those slides. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Motrayo, for that feedback, and I'm very sure they will have, take one or two things from that. Now I have to say that, in the group, in the chat box, we drop the post-event assessment. It's very, very important. The survey, please, you have to fill it. It is very, very important. And also the attendance as well. We shared that earlier. We have to reshare that again so that we can have our attendance and also our fill in the post-event survey. Very, very important. While on that, I want to call on my colleague Nakachi, to give the closing remark. Thank you. Hello.
Sorry, Reading. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much. I was speaking earlier, but that my mic was still mute. Okay, my name is Odinakachi. I'm the communications assistant at the center. Thank you so much, everyone, for being part of this very important training. Of a truth, it's been very insightful, I must say. I think our resource persons, they deserve a round of applause, a virtual round of applause. Please, can we have that? Just as Nuruddin mentioned.
Yes, let's do that. A round of applause. Let's give them applause. Yeah.
Thank you. So just as
Thank you,
mentioned, if you
Motrayo.
check
Thank
the
you,
chat
Aruna.
box, if you check the chat box, you will see a post-training assessment form. Please, it's going to just take just a while. It's important for you to fill it. Your feedback is important to us. It's really going to help us plan better for next trainings. So thank you so much as you do that. That said, I would really like to appreciate our resource persons, Motorayo Alaka, Executive Director and CEO, WSAIG, Haruna Mohammed, Publisher Wikitimes, for sharing their knowledge, their practical experience and realities from their years of collaborative journalism and newsroom engagement. We say thank you so much. Indeed, it has really been, the training has gone beyond theory. The practical section, very interesting. So for me, I don't know for you, I know you will have major key takeaways. One key takeaway from this training is that collaboration is not simply about bringing journalists together. It's not necessarily a friendship arrangement, and it's one that requires trust, coordination, clarity of purpose, ethical responsibility, and shared commitment to public interest reporting. I wouldn't like to boast much. It's really been very impactful, and I know we know that indeed. So while collaborating, it's important to have a team lead. It will go a long way in collaboration. In collaborative journalism, ensure that if we must do collaborative journalism, we should grow past competition as journalists. We should grow past competition, come together to collaborate and do very impactful stories if we must hold power to our account. So for us at the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, collaboration, we strongly believe that collaborative journalism remains one of the important ways to strengthen investigative reporting, particularly now that newsrooms resources are shrinking. So as we conclude, I encourage us not to see today's engagement as an end of a conversation, but we should see it as the beginning of a stronger partnership with each other in our different newsrooms. We should continue to learn deeper. We should be more intentional about collaboration in our journalism practice. Thank you once again to our resource persons, our participants, and also to the WSAIG team members for making today's training a success. please do well to connect with us on our social media handles for important updates, for insights, for opportunities. And I trust you also fill the post-training assessment form. It's just as I said earlier, it's very important to us. Thank you so much, and do enjoy the rest of your day. And also,
go ahead.
Okay, that's all. That's all.
All right.
Or else just
All right.
reiterate that we should fill the form, please. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
All right. So can we all turn on our camera? We need to have the virtual attendance. Yeah. Let's turn our camera. Everybody, please, your camera on. Please, your camera. All right, so we're taking the picture shortly. Please, your camera on. Ahmad Waziri, your camera on. Yeah, let's switch on our camera so that we can see our faces. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for switching on your camera. We still have some people not switching. Mr. Ali, can we see your face so that we can have that general picture? Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate. And please, if you fill the attendance form and also the post-survey form, you surely get the training kit so that from there you can able to, go back to it again and study more and try to, get to familiar with what you've learned earlier and try to put it into action. And it's also important that, this is also an avenue for you to. All right. So I was saying earlier that is also a platform for you to also, collaborate, connect with, get others contact or something. Try to do a follow-up, even go to your social media pages and all sorts. So this is also a platform that you can also collaborate as journalists, interact. And someone said something earlier, so we can do that. It is very, very important. Yeah, that is one of the reasons why we're having this session. Let us work together as a team for us to achieve, the collective goal at the end of the day. Thank you so much. God bless you. We hope to see you in our next training by God's willing. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.